A significant and anticipated night in South Philadelphia. The 76ers back in the center for the first time since the All-Star game break as we zoom in on one of the most talented players in the league, Tobias Harris, warming up on a night Ben Simmons makes his return to the 76ers, and also you too. Fans back in the center for the first time in over a year since March 11th of 2020 as the 76ers host the San Antonio Spurs and 3,100 of their best friends. Great stuff. Good to see you. Welcome to 7-6 Live Countdown presented by Tissot. I'm Brian Seltzer, Lauren Rosen. How are you? You are in the house. I know the fans are not yet. The doors are opening in about an hour, but set the scene.
Yes, indeed, Selt. So excited to welcome fans back. I'm not sure if you can really see behind me, but there are blue, not so well. Okay, sorry. There are blue t-shirts on each of the seats where fans are going to be tonight. Of course, socially distanced. The fans will be abiding by lots of different health and safety protocols, as are the rest of us here at the center, but it's going to feel really good, even at a limited capacity, to have fans back in the building tonight.
Just thinking back to last year, I'm not sure if anyone realized how long we would be in an environment where it would not be safe or responsible to have fans in a setting like a basketball venue or arena. But more than a year later, so great. We know how much the fans mean to the 76ers, how much of a home court advantage this team has had while playing at home. I think now we can get back into the conversation of having true home games as more and more teams in the NBA start to let their fans back in at a responsible rate. I think we can now bring that back into a more authentic and real conversation because we know how good the Sixers are behind their fans in South Philly.
Of course, the graphic says it, 16-3 home record for your 76ers. That's the best home record in the Eastern Conference. Also, of course, the best record in general in the Eastern Conference. And this is a team that's 10-9 on the road, and good teams aim to be 500 on the road. This is a team that's above 500 on the road. They're leading the East. They have the best home record in the East. Things are looking good for your 76ers, even though we'll be without Joel Embiid for a couple of weeks, which we're going to get to a little bit later on.
Indeed, we don't have a specific timetable on when we'll see the MVP frontrunner Joel Embiid back again. I think, first of all, it was just a pit-in-your-stomach type moment in the game against the Washington Wizards the other night on Friday to see him walk off under his own power. In and of itself, regardless of what it meant for the rest of this season, I thought that was somewhat reassuring just for his general health and well-being as a human. But then to know that there might be a sign at some point in the relatively near future where he could be back on a court and helping the 76ers bid for top honors in the East in the regular season, in the playoffs, I think obviously that's a situation that anyone would have signed up for after they saw the incident itself with 6:20 to go in the third quarter on Friday night.
Certainly, Selton. I'm no doctor, but I know that I breathed a bit of a sigh of relief when I saw the words "no structural damage" on the update that we got from Sixers PR yesterday in the morning. So, of course, you never want to lose your MVP candidate for any amount of time, but it's certainly a situation that could have been a little bit more grim for the 76ers. So, again, Joel Embiid out tonight with that left knee bone bruise, but he will be evaluated in 2 weeks.
At this point in time, we're not exactly clear how Doc Rivers is going to play it tonight as far as his starting lineup. We know that he's been inclined to go with Tony Bradley Jr. recently when Joel Embiid hasn't been available, stick with Dwight Howard coming off the bench. So that remains to be seen. And it'll be, very intriguing, Lauren, to look over these next couple weeks. Maybe it's a matchup-dependent thing for Doc Rivers ultimately, where if the Sixers play a team that's big on the front line, maybe they skew towards someone like Tony Bradley Jr. or a Dwight Howard. But if the team plays a little bit smaller based on how personnel is, do the Sixers go smaller? We're going to have to wait to find out.
Sure, we know that Doc has experimented with that Ben big lineup where Ben is in that proverbial 5 spot, let's say. So imagine we'll see a little bit more of that lineup in the coming weeks. But yes, Tony Bradley Jr. was so strong a couple nights ago. And the same night, Dwight Howard had 18 and 12. He's been looking great. So we know that the two of them have the good stuff. And the next couple weeks will be more opportunities for guys like Tony Bradley and Dwight Howard to step up and step in the way that they have been all season long.
So not to bury another lead, Ben Simmons back tonight for the first time since the All-Star game break, having cleared health and safety protocols.
Yes, indeed. Very happy to get Ben back in the mix. As we all remember, he was playing such good basketball right before the All-Star break. And of course, with Embiid out, he'll be looked to as even more of an anchor on the defensive end for more productivity on the offensive end. He was just so strong. We remember that Utah game, of course, that was a few weeks before the All-Star break. But then in that second win against Utah, the game against the Pacers, Ben has been playing some of his best basketball, and it'll be a pleasure to see him back out there tonight.
All right, so as the 76ers get ready for tonight against the 19 and 15 San Antonio team, they're coming off a 127-101 convincing victory over the Washington Wizards on Friday. As we said, there's a couple main storylines for this game. Life without Joel Embiid for a little bit, Ben Simmons coming back, and then also fans at the center for the first time in over a year. At that point in time, obviously Doc Rivers was not with the 76ers in the capacity of head coach. A month prior to the pandemic and the shutdown, Doc Rivers was here in one of the best wins of the season for the 76ers over the LA Clippers. He knows what the Philly atmosphere is all about, having been around for a while. So a couple of weeks ago, Lauren asked him about his thoughts on the Philly fan base, and here's what Doc had to say.
Yay, I'm happy. We want to see our fans here. And listen, we have proven here in Philadelphia that it is a home court. Our fans are phenomenal. We need them here. It would be awesome in the second half of the season if we could have fans. I think it would really boost us.
And here we are, second half of the season. And for game one at home in the second half of the season, fans, 3,100 of them at the center tonight. So, I mean, listen, the numbers don't lie. 45-5 in home games played at the center going back over the last two seasons. That doesn't count the bubble.
Yeah, this is a team that knows how to take advantage of their home court, and we've now seen them do it with or without fans. It's a place that they're clearly comfortable, but even developing this best in the East home record, we've heard from the guys all season long that they love the way that the fans motivate them for better or sometimes for worse. This is a group that really misses their fans. You said Doc Rivers hasn't coached in this environment, but most of these players have played in this environment with fans at full capacity. So I imagine tonight will be an exciting opportunity for those guys to sort of get reacquainted with 3,100, like you said, of their closest friends.
What's exciting for me had in their two games since the All-Star break, sweeping that back-to-back against the Chicago and Washington team that they're both fighting for playoff spots. The Sixers did that shorthanded without Joel Embiid for most of the time, without Ben Simmons for both games, is that guys who are part of that typical bench core have really started to step up. For me, Matisse Thybulle and Furkan Korkmaz in particular. That's not to slight what Dwight Howard's done, but he's a veteran. I think we all know what he's capable of doing. But guys like Matisse and Furkan have really played above their level, at least from what we saw for the first half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see them both catch their stride. We know Matisse Thybulle had that injury at the beginning of the season. Then Furkan Korkmaz was out, which allowed for more minutes for Matisse Thybulle. But the two of them both had to overcome a couple of hurdles with a couple of injuries, and it's great to see them finding their stride at the same time. The two of them are a fun 1-2 punch on offense and defense, and both of them, Matisse, of course, the primary defender of the two, and Furkan, the offensive player of the two, they've each really improved on the other side of the ball. They've clearly been learning from one another, and it's been cool to see Furkan's defense develop, Matisse's offense develop. Both, I agree with you, are going to be absolutely key for this team moving forward and into the playoffs.
Seth Curry had 14 points in the win over the Wizards on Friday. He spoke about the importance of the 76ers bench unit now moving on during a stretch with no Joel Embiid.
They've been playing well. That's what we need from them. They're playing well. And we know it's been a lot of chatter before the break about them not playing as well as they can, and they know they've struggled at times throughout the season. But I mean, it's good for them to come out of the break and have two good games for us and get some of that confidence back. But I mean, they're doing a great job.
Well put. A guy who's not short on confidence, we know, is Tobias Harris, Lauren. He has just been so great this season, very efficient in the first two games back. And now he in particular, along with Ben Simmons, certainly going to be looked towards more on the offensive end and helping the Sixers pick up the rebounding slack without Joel Embiid now that the big man's not going to be out there for a little bit.
And Tobias was really great in the first game back since the All-Star break, scoring a game-high 24 points against Chicago. He was really good again against Washington. Didn't end up needing to play quite as many minutes that night due to how well the rest of the team did, but Tobias has been durable, confident, productive as ever this season. A game that sticks out for me is that game in Utah where Ben had 42 and Tobias had 36. I mean, that kind of productivity can really get this team through a few of their tough games that are coming up if both of those guys are firing on all cylinders. But we know Tobias, regardless of if he's scoring 36 or 14 like he did in his Wizards game, he's bringing his leadership. He's bringing a steady presence to his teammates in the huddle, on the court, in the locker room. And he's just a guy that you got to be happy to have, especially when you're going to be missing one of your most productive players.
Tobias Harris, he's playing what they call, or we can call here now, bounty ball. Let's hear what he said after the game on Friday about being passed over for the Eastern Conference Reserve Group in the All-Star game.
Yeah, that's been my mentality. Was upset with the All-Star, of course. But I've played at All-Star level night in, night out. And, listen, if Philly fans understand that I'm an All-Star, these are the same fans that probably would have escorted me out my house last year. If they understand, and I'm good. If the Philly fans understand. So, when me and Doc talk about it, I just told them, look, I got a bounty out for all the coaches that didn't vote for me. All the national media that skipped over me. It is what it is, but me and Doc both discuss is you make your name known in the playoffs and leading this team and being solid in what you do day in and day out. And that was my mentality. And for a moment it was tough to get over, but the Toronto game came so fast at the All-Star that it was just right there. And then it just you move on with life, and it won't be the first time I'll be in contention to be an All-Star, I believe, in my career, and that's how I look at it.
Get after him, Tobias. I love that attitude. Take names, put the heads on spikes. Maybe don't do that, but I like it. Bounty ball from Tobias Harris.
I like your enthusiasm, Seth, but yes, I agree. Hearing from Tobias for the first time in a little while, or at least the first time since the break, it was nice to hear him come back with that confidence, with the chip on his shoulder. Everybody that knows the Sixers knows that Tobias Harris has a heart of gold, and he's gotten as far as he has with that heart of gold. Kind of cool to see him play with a little anger now, too, with something to prove, because he certainly did, in my opinion, deserve to be on that All-Star team, and now he's going to show everybody why.
76ers noteworthy, 5-0 in games Tobias has played in since those reserves were announced. Listen, you can't slight a man from Long Island. We have a couple great Long Island humans on the 76ers roster.
We sure do, Seltz. You've become a master of the segues since we started this show earlier this season. Another great guy from Long Island, Mr. Danny Green. I caught up with him. This is from post-game on Friday after the big win against the Wizards. Obviously, we're all sort of waiting to hear what's going to happen with Joel, but maybe looking aside from that, what did you learn about your team over these last two nights in this away back-to-back?
Yeah, obviously we're keeping him in our thoughts and prayers, and we're hoping that things are okay. But we've learned over the past two games, even with Ben out, that we're capable. We trust the system, play together. We can play at a high level, regardless of who's on the floor. Earlier in the season, we didn't have that type of character. We didn't have that type of belief. One of our guys sat out. It was a game where we lost. Tonight, in the start of the second half, I think guys are believing in each other, believing in ourselves, and it starts with that first. But we'll get wins, regardless of who's on the floor, and we're trusting it, and sharing the ball and making some things happen defensively. Playing at a pretty good level. Obviously, there's different challenges with different teams, but these two teams are nobody to sleep on. So we've shown that we're capable of doing it, and we got to continue to do it because we're not going to have some injuries. There's going to be some COVID issues. So the second half of the season is going to be even tougher. So we got to continue to play like that, like we did in these two games. The rest of the second half of the season.
Over the last two games, Matisse had 8 steals. He was 9 for 11 from the field. What did you learn about him and maybe the work that he's been putting in to improve on both ends over the last few months?
He's very active. We know what he can do on defense on the floor. That leads to his offense. If he just stays aggressive and keeps doing that, I think the biggest thing is staying out of foul trouble. But because he's so aggressive and so active, I'm okay with his mistakes and some of his fouls. But it'd be a lot easier on me and everybody else if he stays out of foul trouble, so I don't have to play as many minutes and have to guard chase young guys for 30-something minutes. If he stays on the floor, he'd help me out a little bit. But he's doing his job, and he's doing it at a high level, and I'm loving what he's bringing to the floor for us.
As always, great to hear from Danny Green. We're sorry we had a little technical blip over here. It's been cool to hear Danny track the progress of his teammates over time, specifically a guy like Matisse Thybulle, who we just discussed a second ago, really looking better on both sides of the ball. And the two of them have a cool relationship. Seltz is sort of a defensive mentor and mentee. We've seen Danny give Matisse some tips against some of his quality matchups this season, which was great to see.
Well, Danny obviously made a name for himself in his time with the San Antonio Spurs when he won the first of his 3 NBA rings, and the Spurs are in town tonight, a 19-15 Spurs team that's currently 7th in the Western Conference. They missed the postseason for the first time in 23 seasons. Incredible. Last year, and LaMarcus Aldridge is not with the team. They're trying to work out a new destination for him. That is public knowledge. And DeMar DeRozan, who is tremendous, the 31-year-old, his father passed away recently, and so he's not with the team for a second straight game. So no DeMar DeRozan in tonight's matchup between the Sixers and the Spurs. But it seems like the Spurs, Lauren, do have life again.
Yes, indeed. Again, not a team to be underestimated. Seltz, you and I talk about it a lot. There will be a group of teams in both conferences fighting for those final playoff spots. And as of right now, the Spurs are still in that mix that might have to participate in a play-in tournament, play-in game situation. And if I'm the Spurs, I don't want to be participating in something like that. So expect them to bring good punches all season long, or at least for the rest of the second half of this season, to be underestimated for sure.
All right. I'm checking the time. My Tissot Chrono XL NBA Special Edition. Lauren, what does the time say on your watch?
My Tissot watch, which makes me feel very sophisticated, says it's time for the keys to the game.
Go for it.
All right, so my key to the game tonight was rhythm. And it sounds a little bit simple, but to me, even without Joel Embiid, the Sixers have an edge tonight with a guy who moves as quickly as Ben Simmons does, with a guy who moves as forcefully as Tobias Harris does when he's hot. I believe as long as the Sixers are the ones that set the rhythm tonight on the defensive end and the offensive end, they should be in good shape, especially against a depleted Spurs team. But if the Spurs are in charge of how the rhythm goes, Sixers are going to have problems in the first half and maybe have to work their way out of it in the second. Rhythm, find it. On both ends, the Sixers will be fine.
Everyone can use rhythm whenever, wherever. Doesn't matter. All right, my key is mitigate the mid-range. The San Antonio Spurs are first in the NBA in percentage of points scored from mid-range baskets. Counterintuitive to the way the game is played today. Now, a lot of that does have to do with DeRozan and Aldridge, who aren't playing, but I think this is a team that is comfortable settling for jump shots, especially twos. They're really good at it, so I think if the 76ers take that away, it's a big weapon for San Antonio, and that could streamline the game as far as they approach it defensively. Mitigate the mid-range. That's my key.
I'm with it. Not an efficient way to get your money, but that's how the Spurs tend to do it.
Well, it's interesting. Thank you as always to Tissot for presenting our keys to the game. It's interesting because the 76ers are third in the league in percentage of points scored on mid-range jump shots. So you have two teams that are comfortable playing that way. They have some good shooters, but no DeRozan, I think, is going to certainly complicate things for San Antonio tonight.
I mean, DeRozan, Aldridge, arguably two of their best, certainly with DeRozan. So they'll be facing an uphill battle. The Sixers will be adjusting to no Joel. It'll be an interesting one. As usual this season, Seltz, I like the Sixers' chances.
Derek White, DeJounte Murray, Keldon Johnson having pretty good years for the Spurs, so certainly look out for them. All right, that is going to do it. First game with fans at the Center tonight, 3,100 of them. Have fun, Lauren. It's going to be a great storyline. Happy for the fans. They get to be in there. Thank you to Ryan Coletti and Trevor Gaffney on the sticks. We'll do it again on Tuesday when the 76ers continue this homestand.
See you guys. Thanks, Seltz.